So good evening, everybody. We have a quorum. We have all our readers except one, and when he comes in, we'll put him in. We're going to slightly change the format this evening because I had a bit of an episode last week. In the middle of the night, I all of a sudden wrote a poem in which all the words were written backwards. And yes, and it made a lot of difference. When I translated it, I found that it actually had been helped by having the words written backwards in the first place. That's what I'm saying. I read it to Dónall in the morning after breakfast, and he was appalled. So
I wasn't appalled. I just didn't know whether it was Anglo-Saxon, Chaucer, Latin.
well, I'm not very fluent in backwards, so I'm just going to read you the first four lines. I liked it. I have written it into a microphone and I quite liked it, but here we are. And I'll read you the translation afterwards. It's called Tenos. Rito tonak wolf lipu. Ronnak emit nur des reveri wonk. Ladsum ekat et drorov etuor. Dial nwod I etaf ni et sarif. Semom fosit es revenu. Rof depart, ewu, era et litnu et ne. Seca trevo, ruo, elil, weave. Fo noitraina, sesu erfa. Tsal. Actually, that's the first 8 lines because it's a tenos, you see, and it's actually 14 lines. Well, you probably followed that perfectly easily, but I will read you the whole
Let me
poem.
stop you there, Janice, okay? She's a bit backwards in coming forward, but
Well, there you go. So in English, it's called sonnet. Water cannot flow uphill, nor can time run reversed, I know. All must take the forward route laid down by fate in the first moments of this universe. For trapped we are until the end overtakes our little view of creation and sets us free at last. But words may loose a worried mind if a poet chooses to erase hard meaning and retain solely music, solely sound as here. Now slow I write my sonnet's backward words on turning life, running water up a hill.
good Lord. I'll have whatever she's having.
So that's my little episode.
When I was a teacher, I got all the class to write out their names, and then I got them to write it backwards. And my name, of course, is Leonard Yespid, backwards. And then they loved their backwards names, and I used to take the register with all the backward names.
Oh, lovely.
And I could say, "Oh, Hikapaksha, you. What's 7 times 7?"
Oh, Jim Conwell's joined us. Jim, you've just missed Tenos. I had a go at it. So we got Dónall, you might have something to say now. Yes, yes.
I'm speechless after
Yeah,
that, love it.
there.
Yep. Don't know if you can see this. This is The Smell of Purple. We launched it at the New Delhi Poetry Festival in 14.
Years ago.
So this is about transitioning from being single to being the parent of a 3-year-old little girl. And of course, she allows you to see with her seeing, and the world just blossoms into being. And I was totally enthralled by her. She was my mentor, she was my teacher, and she just gave me the world totally freshened up. And one day she nonchalantly came into the room and said, and this is the smell of purple. She says she can smell yellow. She says she can smell blue, despite not being able to spell either colour. Yellow, smells the same as blue, like a wet kitty drying by the fire. Red smells like mummy when she kisses. Her kisses smell different when she kisses you. Then she smells like flames with little orange tips. Purple, let me see. Purple is my favorite smell. It smells, yes, yes, just like a magic spell. I kiss her goodnight like lilac, only lighter, with little flecks of purple scattered here and there. There you go.
Oh, that's lovely.
Good.
Hey, why don't you have your moments too? You see things strange. Thank you very much. And now the real poets are going to come on board, and we're going to begin
With Alwyn.
with Alwyn Marriage. Alwyn is a local lady. She's a friend of ours from Guildford itself, and she used to be
Oversteps.
Oversteps Publishing, and now she's a very productive poet. So, Alwyn, off you go.
Thanks very much. I'm going to read 3 poems. The first one comes from my last book, which was Travelling Light, all about my travels when I was chief executive of a couple of NGOs, some years ago. And it's divided into continents. And the poem I'm going to read tonight is called Two Swims and Beauty. It was written about a visit in Samoa. Two Swims and Beauty. The memory from a quarter of a century ago creeps through the sticky heat of this summer. I hadn't expected on a business trip to enjoy 2 perfect swims in a single day. But after walking, talking, standing and examining the college perched high on a hill above the sea, the principal's invitation to take a sea swim down below was irresistible. The clear salt water welcomed me, bathed my hot skin, and washed away all thoughts of work. It was all so perfect that it seemed impossible that the experience could get any better, until I swam deep into the shady cave and turned to look back out towards the open sea, where the sun, piercing the entrance, sparkled on every grain of salt, bending the light and illuminating hundreds or maybe even thousands of darting, multicolored fish. Later, visiting a printing press, I was invited by Dorothy, the young woman who ran the desktop publishing, to go to the sea with her. She drove me to a beach where, in the shade of palm trees, I changed into a swimming costume that, by Western standards, was modest, but which, not surprisingly, revealed my arms and legs. Dorothy, on the other hand, walked straight into the sea in her lava, which streamed out behind her as she swam, a creature of sea and sun and golden sand, full of joy, totally modest and just as totally beautiful. The next poem, thank you, was from the volume before that, which was possibly a pomegranate, celebrating womankind. It was poems about women all through the ages, which was great fun to write. But this one is about the experience of one's child leaving home, which probably many of you have been through. It's called Moving On, and it generally turns out not to be as bad as you expect. Moving on. The first time I heard you speak of home, not meaning the house where I live and where you'd spent your childhood, there was a slight but perceptible shuddering in my foundations. Flesh from my flesh. Ever since your journey started, I had been letting go, but feared this visible and physical realignment to our world might lead to the final separation. Time proved the opposite, but for a while I had to watch while you learnt to adjust to life in a place you didn't know, while I, just as tentatively, grew accustomed to a home empty of you. And the third poem I'm going to read is one some of you will have heard before, because it's one I always enjoy reading, It's one that won a prize, actually, which is also quite encouraging. And it's about the Henry Moore sculpture of the King and Queen. There's a copy outside the Tate, but the one that this poem is about used to be in Dumfries and Galloway on a very windy, wet hillside. So the poem is called "The Clue Lies in the Lady's Toe," on visiting Henry Moore's sculpture in Dumfries and Galloway. On a Scottish hillside, the bronze statue of an archetypal king and queen braves the elements, observing, perhaps, a thread of slit-eyed sheep winding up the hill with careful, delicate tread, yellow marks like lichen on their rumps, their gaze full of vague, unanswered questions. My mind also struggles to explain the different texture of the metal on the king's right knee, while all the rest is stippled, rippled, riven in a pattern to catch the varying shades of light. His knee is smooth. What point was the sculptor making as he carefully fashioned this one unblemished surface? Only as I descend the hill does a clear-cut memory emerge from long ago, as I recall a constant stream of pilgrims filing past a marble statue of the Queen of Heaven. The slight roughness of the stone contrasting sharply with the smooth and shining toe, which generations of the pious have knelt to fondle and to kiss, wearing away the awkward corners and bringing out a deeper shine. The line of sheep has reached the sculpture now, and as I watch, each sidles up to the impassive king and meditatively rubs her rump against his knee.
That's a lovely picture, that last bit. I love it. Yes, it's very interesting to hear. We're looking forward to seeing the sculptures in St Mary's Church.
The paintings, yeah.
Paintings.
Painters, sorry, paintings.
Just as a PS, I went to Dumfries and Galloway to do a recording of that poem, and it was pouring with rain, and the rain was actually travelling horizontally, not vertically, and you can hardly hear a word I say.
Oh, that was a lovely set of poems. Thank you. Now, we don't have Jamie. I think I know that Jamie told me he's starting up a business. I think he's just working too hard and he's forgetting everything else. So if he comes along, we'll include him. So Carolyn O'Connell, I saw you come in. Would you like to unmute, please? Carolyn? Oh, she hasn't spotted that she's second. Right. Barry, we'll go straight on to Barry then. Barry is, as I rather casually remarked, he is Chichester poetry.
Mr. Poetry himself.
Organises so much in the Chichester area. He's tremendous, and he does books and magazines and all sorts of things. So we're going to go straight to Barry, and Carolyn will come back to you,
right?
Because we were afraid you were not actually at your.
I've unmuted, but there seems to be some problem with my video.
That's all right. We can hear you, and after Barry's read,
right.
You can stay invisible, but we can certainly hear you. You can leave yourself unmuted for after Barry's read. Thank you very much.
Back to Barry.
Back to Barry then. So Barry, as I say, he runs a lot of things, a lot of events, and encourages a lot of young poets and older ones as well to ply their craft. He's got several books out for himself. We published the last one, which was I think it was a collected poems. Yes, hold it up and show us. Lovely. Yes.
Lovely. Beautiful cover.
Yes. So that was 2024, I believe. Almost the last book that we published. So love to hear from you now, Barry.
Right, thanks very much. So the title, Reeling and Writhing, comes from Lewis Carroll, of course, who was not a stranger to the Guildford area. But I'm not reading tonight any of the Alice pieces. Going to concentrate on a couple of others, which will take my 5 minutes. This first poem was actually commissioned by the Culture Spark Arts Festival when they were putting it on in the Chichester district area. And the brief was to write something ecological, environmental. Well, that's okay, but it had to be positive and encouraging. Now, that's more difficult if you think about it. So I went back into my past and remembered when I went to university at Keele University, which is just outside Stoke-on-Trent in the Potteries. Once I got that, I was away. Oh, I also mentioned a very famous concert which I was lucky enough to be at in this poem, Route 66 Revisited. When I came down to Etruria back in 1966, on my journey to university at Keele, I did not find classical civilization, just the smoking bottle kilns of the potteries, the sheds and stacks of Wedgwood and Spode, and an ever-present smear of grey and black, the unfathomable depths of the old canal, a gash in the city's arteries and heart. But back in 66, some things changed. Dillon went electric at the Albert Hall. A new youthful eye sparked the 60s, and the air was gradually scoured clear, the scum and viscous sludge drained, the hedgerows replanted with hawthorn and alder, the floating pennywort, nettles and parsleys regrafted, and the roach and carp, the voles and damselflies reclaimed the wastelands and waterways, while the green mating lights of the glowworms rekindled hope sometime after I left Etruria, heading out along the way on Route 66. Long time ago now. But I remember it well, especially that Dylan concert. Now, the second poem I'm going to read from this book was inspired by the great painter Turner. Some of you may have been lucky enough to go and see the Turner and Constable exhibition in London. I'm hoping to go and see it soon. This one is a poem that came together with two different things, sort of rubbing each other up and sparking something new. So it's called Between Worlds. This is where the artist held his sketchbook, suspended somewhere between the two banks and gazing ahead into the sunset over the blue-grey downs, the water translucent, silvered with reflected light, the rigging of a brig holding the vanishing point, a bark tucked into one bank, casting off, and three poplar trees drawing the eye to the cathedral spire floating on the horizon. Today, I stand where Turner stood, on the apex of Huntston Bridge, seeing and not seeing the sights he saw on Chichester Canal, then the marvel of the modern age, now a tourist trail, with a gauche reproduction of his vision tacked onto the balustrade. On this cusp of another spring, Angelica, red campion, and white meadowsweet are hibernating, soon to share their blessing. And on another day, on another bridge, In suspension over Bedford River, I gaze ahead to the spire of St. Paul's Church, spiking the sharp, bright autumn skies, with clouds of ruddy golden brown beech leaves lining the banks, and think of my mother adrift on a bed of white, her breathing seeping away, blending into the air like the smoke from Turner's engine, bridging the worlds of rain, steam, and speed. Thank you. That's my slot, so thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Barry. It's very moving, the way that you link the memory of your poor mother with that view. Lovely. Now, Audrey Ardern-Jones.
Carolyn,
Okay.
isn't it?
Oh, sorry, Audrey. Carolyn.
Okay.
Carolyn, we're going to hear from you now.
Okay. Thanks, Janice. Just, I've got two here. One's called liquidity. Once a baby would be dipped in the sea, held in a mother's arms, father beside, part of a family holiday in times gone by. I can recall summer's months of sunshine, walking in the park or swimming in the sea, waves knocking me over, white sand slipping under my feet, or sitting with friends by a river bank, swans passing by. We'd enjoy a homemade picnic, the swim in the tide to the reed-lined bank, days never wearing protection from rain or fear of sea's pollution, plastic or chemicals never seen in clear water. Now winters are indifferently white. Only high peaks hardly hold their shine. Water rages through towns and barns, destroying homes, harvests for man and beast. Rivers, seas hold chemicals, plastics, barred to swimmers. Even fish don't thrive. The bee, wasp, pollinators die. We all have lands unreliable to feed us. Our children can't swim in our or eat a conglomerate's gold. And this one is called Look Slowly. She's standing before his portrait, dressed in blue, her hair pinned up. We can't see her face. She's engrossed in gazing at him. A man from centuries ago looks back from the ornate frame. He looks like he's an aristocrat, long brown hair, fine clothes, soft velvet. The fashion of 1635? A tall white plume rises from his soft brown cap, appearing to rise from her 21st century hair. Look slowly, he whispers to her. We are not accustomed to seeing him dressed so well or framed in gold. We see him poor in a wheat field or alone beside a lamp. Many Dutch assemblies dressed in black, white lace collars, peacocks and bodies, black framed. An old man, his head wrapped in a cloth. Look slowly and find the truth of Rembrandt.
Thank you, Caroline. Two lovely poems.
Mm.
Yes, the Rembrandt. I didn't actually get that it was going to be a Rembrandt. He is one of my very famous favorite artists.
Yes.
Um,
It was a picture that I actually saw of a woman standing before that portrait of him dressed in gold,
yes.
and the plumes seemed to come from her hair.
Oh, I see.
That's it was the way she was standing. It rose from the top of her head where the photograph had been taken.
Your first poem followed up Barry's poem, really, in a way, didn't it?
Sort of, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Regretful that
It is.
we have wrecked our waters, haven't we?
We
Well, we
do.
haven't. Thames Water has mostly.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you very much. Thank you,
You're
Carolyn.
welcome. Thank
Now,
you,
now
Janice.
to Audrey. Audrey Ardern-Jones. Audrey's actually another almost local poet. She lives in Epsom, don't you?
Yes, yes, thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
We know the same places.
Yeah,
Lovely
So
to
do
see
I,
you.
actually.
That-
Audrey.
Thank you.
thank you very much, Janice. And I thought I'd start, it felt appropriate anyway, to start with a poem that I wrote February the 24th, 2002. This dreadful, start of the Ukraine war. I think many of you know that my mother was Polish and actually came from Lviv. So I'm Ukrainian, but I always grew up thinking I was completely Polish. But as you know, the boundaries around there all change. So this is a short poem, and it's called "They Offer Themselves Up." And probably you may remember from seeing the news on the television, all the different people.
Mhm.
Old people armed with guns and coffee cups, teenagers in Liverpool football t-shirts, artists, musicians, bus drivers, anyone from anywhere who'll brave it, drive the enemy out. Today, forests fill with a putrid stench of war. Resistant soldiers fight for freedom, wear helmets, cower in tanks, cities howl, bomb-blasted buildings crumble, debris scattered far and wide. This place hides my history of unmarked graves, fields of bones buried deep underground, faces I never knew. In my head, I hear my mother imploring the Russian soldiers to exit now. So, as you can imagine, I'm, very emotional about Ukraine and have been quite involved with. There's a big unit here in Epsom. We've got a lot of Ukrainians here, and I'm involved with various events linked up with them and help look after a lovely family with 3 little boys. And in my last book, I dedicated a poem to Daniel, who's only 9, and it sort of followed on from a conversation I had with him. And it's called Today in March, for Daniel, aged 9, who's lived in England for a year. I see daffodils everywhere, yellow flowers in gardens, parks, and in a vase in our kitchen, yellow like the sun, like the colour of sunflowers, the symbol of my homeland. Some days I long to be back home, walking in the countryside with my grandpa and my 2 grannies and a dog called Matvey. But for now, I must go to school, play with new friends, and learn about England. I speak English like an English boy, but my heart is Ukrainian. I hope that soon this war will end and that we'll rebuild our burnt-out cities, our burnt-out hearts, and afterwards, everywhere, we'll see yellow flowers in our gardens, parks, and in a vase in our kitchen. Can I just say that Daniel has read this poem at various poetry and music events that we've organised locally, and he's absolutely marvellous at doing it, and of course, much better than me that he reads it. So for my final poem tonight, I'd like to remember my dearest friend who died just more than a year ago, and she was unbelievably brave. with knowing that she had a terminal diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. And you know, she was incredible. And it's written in the form of a rondo, but I slightly broke the rules, and I read it to her, and I asked her if I could put it in my book. And actually, she and her daughter asked me to read it at her funeral. So I did slightly break the rules, and it was appropriate because she was a bit of a rule breaker. So it's called Rondo in a Phone Call for Sue. It hurt speaking to you today. You mentioned cancer in your upbeat way. Inside me, something slips to another place. Shadows in my heart, on my face. The sky, dark grey. You make the storm ahead a drizzle. I say there are ways to tone down the wind, play with time. You're a sun in darkness, one of the best of our human race. It hurt speaking. There's thunder in the distance, but you'll stay doing what you always do, living the day, making sponge cakes for the freezer, just in case. You'll laugh, chat on the phone, fill every space. It hurt speaking. Thank you. And it's her birthday, actually, 2 days' time. So I am thinking of her.
Oh, that is so moving.
Beautiful.
Yes. We have spoken to quite a lot of Ukrainians who work here in the hospital. They've been here for years. They're not refugees, but they're very skilled and very, very good people. And I'm so sorry about your friend. But now Roger Bloor. Roger, he's Dawkins poetry. Am I right, Roger?
Slightly north than that.
Near
from the
Granley.
pottery.
Near enough as damn it.
Yeah.
Well, Roger does an awful lot for poetry over that way, and we've met a few times. But at the moment, we're not very good at driving at night, so we don't go to anything. But you run some wonderful things, I know. So would you like to read for us?
I will, Janice. Thanks very much. And I've emigrated to the Isle of Man, so I'm across the water at the moment and talking to you in what we in the Isle of Man call the adjacent island. So I've got this is from my new collection, which is called Mapping Broken Roads, which you can't see because it's blurred it, which is being launched in London on Friday, which should be exciting. And it's got some poems which are about the development and changes in relationships. And I've just got 4 short ones which chart the development of one relationship, perhaps. This one's called Beach Huts for Hire and should be read with a strong Welsh accent, which I don't have. No, sorry, we don't hire them by the day or by the hour, just by the week. And to be honest, never to young couples like you just looking for some privacy. Couples like you carrying a blanket as a bunk up backup. And from what I hear, you both discovered yesterday the Nevin Council's playground benches aren't the best place to be alone. Besides which, we had to make do with the beach when we were courting, and I know your mum and your dad, and anyway, a few hard pebbles and some damp sand never put us off. And relationships change and develop, so this is another one of the same relationship. It's called Dear God. Dear God, I'm sat here on the bottom step, crazy drunk and feeling rough. There's vomit on the kitchen floor and beer cans in the bath. She's upstairs in her bedroom finding her bra and pants. I need to fix the kitchen door and sweep up all the glass. Then talk her friend out of the bog before she cuts her wrists. I'm crazy drunk and feeling low, and that's her parents' back. Just crazy drunk won't cover it. I'm pissed and in deep shit. So God, just get me out of this, through prayer or just by chance, and I'll get tattooed upon my horse, no whiskey shots again. Amen. And relationships fade, I guess, over time sometimes, and the realization that things aren't quite as strong as they were. And this one's called, it's one of 3. This one's called Diary 1. I'll just read you the first one. There are 2 lives hidden in my diary pages. The click-it lock is open, but a little stiff, as though there's a reticence, a tacit, silent agreement, whispering in the night, that others should not share these words, and how desire grows to own a diary with a lock, so your lover could not share the blitzkrieg of your thoughts, for now there are two of us who live together on the page. And the last one, it's called Airbnb. 3 dancers hanging on the bedroom wall are fixed in ink and watercolour wash. The roses on the kitchen table are made of recycled plastic bags and coffee cups. More rose than rose, as real as all the words we shared that night, which drooped and faded as we slept apart and let the moment go. Thank you.
Lovely. Some very, very fraught relationships there. I'm sorry, I'd forgotten that you moved to the Isle of Man. We did meet in Dorking, I think. I thought. No, perhaps not. Anyway, lovely poems, great fun, and sad at the same time, of course. Evanthe. Where's Evanthe? There she is. Evanthe, I don't know that much about you, Evanthe. So I'm just going to ask you to read some of your lovely poems, please.
Okay. I've been following you for about a year. I was introduced by Chris Salt originally. I'm in London, northwest London. Okay, I'm doing 3 poems and a haiku, about sort of 3 about with animals in and 1 with a person. Okay, the first is Death of a Greyhound. This is in Australia. It's a very popular sport, but what happens to the greyhounds when they retire? Anyway, this is about one that got rescued. Death of a Greyhound. By 8 p.m, you growl for sleep as our human voices churn. This is normal. You do it every night. In the kennels, they turned out the light, left you with cold comfort in your wire pen, muzzled your young in bondage then. For the next 7 years, you claim a room in our house. Stand 4 square in the door. It's my bed. Massive dog person, we maneuver you round 180 degrees, force you forward with our hands on your butt, onto the living room floor. You flex your muscles, utter no threat. Later, your leg gives way. We lift you onto the sofa, where stretched out full length, you paw our arms, stare into our eyes, demand we stroke your velvet ears, gaze into your unblinking eyes. More, more. Next one features pigs. I was walking in a wood near Woodbridge in Suffolk and came across a surprising sight, an enclave of farmed pigs. This is what I found. Pink skin, coarse hairs, ears shade myopic eyes. In sterile sand, roots snout, caked in mud at water spout. Trotters jump to metal trough, clang the hollow, hollow rough, tongue revolves, beats, thrashes, dribbles, shingle, pebbles, trashes, stone as big as baked potato, clangs the sides of steel. So, grumbling, rumbling, roiling, slam, hammer in the manger, bang. This mute protest has no words. I, as witness, wrote this verse. The third one was from, I visited Bronte, my son lives there, Bronte Beach Cafe, which is in Sydney. And as you know, there's a huge issue about mixed race people and their place in society. This is what I saw from the cafe when I was having a dawn cup of coffee. Honey-coloured ponytails bounce, Fit girls in lycra jog their pavement dance. One stands out, dark hair down to waist. Her body is a different kind of shape. She enters where the regulars sit and play. At counter orders coffee, takeaway. Walks out, turns round, holds ground. She waits, contained, her number called, collects with subdued grace, cradles paper cup, pays the price, walks the crossing, black and white. Embodiment of history's cruel lies, her ethnic colour recast before our eyes. As honey-coloured ponytails glow, she haunts her life with nowhere else to go. And finally, a haiku, which I call Bird. Poet sits at desk, bird in eyrie builds her nest, moss, grass, feathers, fur.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, the last couple of lines of that poem about the cafe were very
She
good.
haunts her life with nowhere else
She
to go.
haunts her life with nowhere else to go. That's
Great line.
very good, very good.
Thank you.
And very sad. You see this in Dogs, the Greyhound poem. They're more than people, aren't they?
Yes.
Amazing, amazing.
I'm the same. You see it in me too.
Yes, yes.
More than people, aren't
A
I?
dog almost.
They are so big. They're big as a human.
Yes.
Yes, yes. We used to know a dog. No, we used to know a lady who had a greyhound, and she used to bring it to poetry evenings
Yes.
that we were running, and it loved the poetry. It used to howl.
Her name was Cicely.
Cecily was this greyhogs
And she'd only howl
Cecily.
if you stood on her tail.
No, she sometimes got excited about the poems as well.
That's lovely.
However, there
This
you
one
are.
was called Harry.
Harry, lovely. So Rod, lovely to see Rod. We haven't seen Rod for a little while, and Rod is nowhere near us. We're so glad of Zoom because Rod is he's well north of Watford,
We
actually.
did get up to see him, bud.
We did. We've been to Oldham, where Rod lives, and we enjoyed meeting Rod. So Rod, would you like to read for us, please?
Yeah, this first one it's sort of, you know, the one you read, Janice, this has got a sort of backward element to it, although it's not got the elegance of the 13th century Orcadian that yours was written in. It's called Return. 3 or 4 deep, they line the streets between his house and St. Joseph's, the church, not the high school, waving scarves and pennants, some holding placards, welcome back, we love you, as the cavalcade crawls slowly from the graveyard and up Lazarus Street to the end terrace next to the telegraph pole, where the undertaker's assistants unscrewed the lid of the dirty elm box, and he sat up, took the pennies from his eyes, and stiffly levered his long limbs out of the coffin, out of the car. Standing on the dog shit and chewing gum spattered, cracked, flagged pavement, outside his dark blue front door, he patted the pockets of the polyester suit, looked round bewildered, plaintively wailed, "I've lost my key again," in a scratchy falsetto that took everyone by surprise. And about a year ago, I read James, Percival Everett's retelling of the Huckleberry Finn story from the point of view of James escaped slave. And I discovered he's a very prolific author. And I've read many of his his novels since. And one of them is called I Am Not Sidney Poitier. And this is about that. The poem pinches part of the sort of pinches and bends the title of a famous painting. Ceci n'est pas un livre. I'm reading a book called I Am Not Sidney Poitier, in which the main character is called not Sidney Poitier. It's by a writer. He's called Percival Everett. One of the characters is called Percival Everett, although the writer called Percival Everett in some class of preamble makes it clear that the character Percival Everett is not him. What I can't get clear is who it is that's reading this book. And I've lost the other one I was going to read. It's gone. Right, I'll have to find it in a different place. So here we go. This is the last one I'm going to read. It's called Gaza 2025. I can't find the code to unlock this slippery image of hot dust, to find whether it's dream or memory, and if it's memory, whether mine or someone else's, recounted or broadcast, maybe on television, people walking, some wailing, some waving their arms, some carrying a body wrapped in white, perhaps plastic. Dust catches my throat, or it may be emotion, in and out of the frame, as the hand holding the phone dithers, a grinning soldier. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rod. Your first poem really left us speechless, didn't it? Which is unusual. So thank you very much. And the Gaza ones, very moving. Yes, when the second poem you read just reminded me of me reading Wuthering Heights, where everybody was called either Linton, Catherine, or Kathy. Yes, and I never understood it, and the film hasn't helped either, because most of the plot was missing from the film. However, that was lovely. Thank you. I have to look that author up. So we move to Alison Mace, please. Alison, can you unmute?
She is up at the top.
Yeah, she's there.
I'll switch on mute.
Yeah.
Press.
Alison. We can't hear you, Alison.
Now you can.
Now we can. Thank you.
I'm being told that my internet connection is unstable. So fingers crossed.
Don't worry, just read fast.
Okay. My first of three is called Baggy. It dates from my childhood in Buckinghamshire, when we used to say Bag's Eye or Baggy. And it's a tenos, Janice. It's a tenos. Baggy. Bag's Eye, we cry, claiming our certain right to the biggest biscuit, first read of a book, upstairs on the bus, the coveted front seat. Easy. You got in quick. Baggy, that's all it took. If another kid beat you to it, well, that was all right too. It was settled, agreed by all. You knew where you stood. No silly messing about. You first? No, you. Later, it wasn't so easy. exams, a job, the boy you fancied. Baggy didn't get those. You learnt to work. Sorry. You weren't to learn when you learnt to work, be snug, compete with the mob for even a little of what, if you could, you'd choose. In age, can you bag good health, not to be lonely, no pain, a peaceful death among friends? If only. The next one dates from when I lived in Yorkshire, and I lived in Yorkshire during the horrible years when Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper, was about, the 70s and beginning of the 80s. And I wrote this poem when one of my groups that I was in said, write a poem about something that happened on this day of the year in another year. This was the 22nd of May, and it relates to the 22nd of May 1981, when Peter Sutcliffe finally confessed and was arrested, and it was over. Or was it? On this day, 22nd of May 1981. No more skulking indoors, long winter evenings. No more turning at every second step, heart in your gullet, even in daylight, thinking to hear him behind you, the sudden feel of hands on your back, your arm, your neck, his staring eyes holding you as you crawl. Of course, we know now how he looked. A white face, tousled hair, and sharp black beard. We didn't then, and that was worse, I think. These 5 long years of terror when any man you saw, someone you knew, might be the one, the Yorkshire Ripper. Yes, it was on our patch, Leeds, Bradford, Halifax, and it seems his first attack was here, right here in our own town. Well, it's over. He's caught and tried. And the news this evening, 22nd of May, is this: Sutcliffe sentenced to 30 years. And surely a man who's murdered 13 times will never be free. So now we can breathe again. Yes, that was what we thought that late spring day in 1981. But years of dread don't just dissolve as the black van drives away from the courtroom, not at all. It took a while, 3 summers and 2 winters, to relax, to wake, not fearing what the day might hold, to stroll in the sun without a backward look, not to send for a taxi after dark. And still, the names, his surname, Garden Lane where he lived, or Alma Road where Jacqueline walked home each evening to her room in Hall until the night he fell down on the curb. I hear the names, and a shadow dims the sun. Then a short one to finish. This is more recent. I now live in Gloucestershire, in the Forest of Dean. Near where I live, there's a road called Loiterpin. Nice name, Loiterpin. And the poem is called Loiterpin, Blakeney Hill. The sign leans skew-legged on the steep verge, Loiterpin. Snaking up round the hill's right shoulder, fast going back to a track. Mud up the middle grows cushions of grass, soused leaves squelch at the sides. But Loiterpin, fruits, nuts, holly, always the best of any about. Picking along the hedge, I'm caught up by a smiling woman, a wagging dog. I'm invited. Half a mile on, across from our house, incredible crop this year. Those blackberries just come and come. You're welcome. I can't keep up. So I've picked there since for my jellies, crumbles, till now I hear she is felled by stroke, leg, arm, speech, sight. Gone to her home, dog and husband left despondent. Her berries unpicked, shrunk, petrified, stare across at a house that today I see is up for sale. And right appears, nameless now, the old sign fallen and lost.
Thank you very much. And you stayed the course. Your internet stayed the course. Thank you very much. Very much.
I didn't say hello because I got here very late, but thank you everyone. I just so enjoyed listening to everybody's poems. You're all so clever and wonderful, and it's just, I feel very inspired. Thank you. And I just wanted to say best wishes from Nietzsche Eos.
Oh,